This is John Gordon. I host The Truth with John Gordon every Saturday here on the John Fredericks Media Network at 12 o'clock noon. It's replayed at 1 p.m. on Sundays. You can also watch us on our live stream on youtube.com. We're a little over 500 subscribers now on that channel. I think about 510. We've got to get to 1,000. So if you listen to The Truth and you like us, if you could go to youtube.com, getter.com, rumble.com, we're on all of those live streams, and just subscribe to us. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes you less time than I've spent talking about it here in the last few seconds. It would do a great deal of help to us, and it'll push us out to more listeners. It'll broaden our reach, and that allows us to get bigger and better guests. So we want to continue to bring you great programming, just like we're bringing you this morning, I hope. Give us a call. We'd love to put you on the air with us. We've been talking about the art of the smear. Yes, the deep state is back. The knives are out. They're going after Pete Hegseth because he wants to change the Department of Defense, in my opinion, for the better. Now, we can maintain the deep state in control, which is exactly what you've got with Lloyd Austin, the current Secretary of Defense. So we have a real choice. Do we want the status quo with Lloyd Austin, who was MIA for 3 days? Do you know that if you're in the military and you're missing in action, that subjects you to court-martial? Why is Lloyd Austin allowed a free pass? You know, Lloyd Austin, the guy who got us out of Afghanistan, and in the process cost us 13 men and women who were members of our military. Don't forget the $85 billion in the most sophisticated armaments known to man that, again, they lied to us, blatantly, fragrantly lied to us and said, oh, we dismantled them. We rendered them useless. And then the next day we saw Black Hawk helicopters flying over the capital of Afghanistan with corpses hanging from our helicopters. What in the world, folks? What in the world did this Biden reign of terror, what was it about? And he just left Bagram Air Force Base, abandoned it. One of, if not the most strategic United States military bases in the world, in between Russia, China, inside Afghanistan, just walked away from it. Incompetence at best, corrupt at worst. You're going to put a gun to my head and make me pick one? I'm going to pick corrupt. I think it was an intentional act. I don't know who he was favoring, but we know that he took money from our enemies. And now we see our Air Force Base fall into the hands of the Taliban and ISIS and Afghanistan, and our armaments fall into the hands of ISIS. We see a Chinese spy balloon that the Defense Department had to know was coming towards us. They tracked it all the way across the Pacific, watched it enter into Canada, and then fall down into the United States, entering over Montana, hovering over our most sensitive nuclear military bases, where China has bought up farmland around these military bases. That's one of the things that Trump has got to tackle. Divest China of farmland around our military bases. It's the first thing that he needs to do. And close the Chinese police stations, for God's sakes, that are operating in New York, Houston, and LA. My God, what have these people done to our country? And how many Chinese fit military-age men have crossed our southern border? Estimates range into the thousands, over 10,000. We don't know how many. We have to round them up and send them home. The enemy has infiltrated our country round them up and send them home. There are some really bad forces at work in our country today. It's right in front of us. They're not making a secret of it. Mass deportations? Hell yes. Mass deportations. Get the enemy out of our country. It can't happen in China. It can't happen in Russia. It can't happen in Central America, yet it has happened in America on our southern border and our northern border. And Trump hasn't even taken office yet, and he has gone straight to work. And he is having an impact. Canada, Mexico, listen up. If you don't stop the influx of illegal aliens into our country and the influx of fentanyl across your border into our country, we are going to tariff you into economic oblivion. And what happens? The new president of Mexico calls up President Trump and says, of course, we're going to stop the inflow of fentanyl into the United States. We're going to do our part to stop illegal immigration out of our country into your country. Of course, we were always going to do that. Not that they have, not for the last 4 years, but they are going to cooperate because they don't want to be tariffed. And Trudeau makes a pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago. And he says, of course, we're going to cooperate with you, Mr. President. Just please don't tariff us into economic oblivion. I think we've got Monty calling in from North Dakota. Good morning, Monty. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, John. I like to listen to you on JFR app whenever I can, and I just followed you on the Rumble app.
Thank you very much, Monty.
And, you know, you're a little bit older than me. Maybe you can remember.
I'm a little bit older than everybody these days, but that's the subject for another day.
Maybe you can remember. We used to have classes in high school like Americanism versus communism. And when I see all that's going on, you know, people like Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, all these people, they're traitors. They've been doing insider trading for years. Obama, his $1 billion cash to Iran, that's treason. Biden's $86 billion withdrawal from Afghanistan, that is treason. We need people in here who are going to fight. And the problem with the Republicans is they refuse to fight. I'm a Democrat because Republicans refuse to fight. I'm surrounded by all these communists like AOC. Okay, that's fine. I know they're communists, but if you're a Republican, you don't know who's going to stab you in the back. And if we look at what has happened to President Trump with Mitch McConnell, Thune, and the rest, they are traitorous scumbags, the lowest of the low, right? We can fight the communists if we name them. We can fight the Democrats who are actually communists. RFK, I would rather have him, Tulsi Gabbard, Dr. Naomi Wolf, Dr. Peter McCullough. These are all people who are Democrats, and I would trust way before I would trust any of these senators who call themselves Republicans. I would trust Rand Paul, but we've got to do something. We've got to get serious, or these people are going to sandbag every one of Trump's cabinets. They're just going to keep going at it, and he's going to have a failed second term, just like I consider his first term a failed presidency, even though I voted for him twice, and I'll vote him for 5 or 6 more times if he keeps running.
Well, look, his first term in office was messy. There's no question about it. He had to fire James Comey as head of the FBI. That cost him a lot of political capital in the swamp, but it was necessary. He did the right thing, but it was messy. And then he had to fire the Secretary of State, who was actually very well liked and well respected. But, you know, you had 2 titans of industry that weren't accustomed to taking orders from anybody. And so the Secretary of State didn't think that he had to listen to the President of the United States, and he didn't like having to take orders. So Trump summarily dismissed him. And he didn't do it very charitably, I didn't think. So it was just messy. It was the right thing to do, but it was messy. All right, so this time around, Donald Trump knows the game now. He didn't know the game then. And he is putting people in his cabinet who are change agents. And they're not one or two here or there. They are all change agents, and they are all now forming an army of change agents. So, Monty, I understand where you're coming from. You make perfect sense on one level, but let's stay the course. Be optimistic. This country needs you. This country needs all of the people who have your mindset. Trump cannot do it alone. Trump and his cabinet cannot do it alone. Trump got elected because of the American people rising up in effectively a MAGA revolution. That's what this country needs. That's what it's going to take to affect the change that you want and the change that I want. And Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to do their part through DOGE, the Government Office of Government Efficiency, which is code name for drain the frickin' swamp. We've got a 4-year window that we can do a lot of good, but we all got to get in the boat. We all got to row in the same direction, and we've all got to support this initiative. Now, I worry like you do. You know, the Senate has just engaged in a shill game. They put Thune under one of the shills and McConnell under the other, and they've just mixed them around. McConnell has gone nowhere. He is still there, and he and Thune are joined at the hip. There is no difference in John Thune and Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell has now been made chairman of the committee that determines what legislation is going to come out of committee. It's the Rules Committee of the Senate. McConnell hadn't left. They've just given him a new title, and he's still going to be a nemesis and a thorn in all of our sides as reforms are ushered through. So you're right, Monty, to have a healthy dose of skepticism. I would just encourage you to stay the course and don't give up the ship.
John, I'm not giving up the ship, but here's the problem. When we say stay the course right now is Gates has been sunk. His nomination has been sunk, and that was the first one out of the gate. I'm really hopeful about Kash Patel. If he gets in, that he's going to do some things like investigate where did Mitch McConnell and his family get all of their money from, because we know it goes straight back to the CCP, but nobody is holding these people accountable. The same insider trading with Nancy Pelosi and these other people. And, John, I'm just afraid that because of things that have happened, like the Gates getting sunk, that it's just going to be one after another. And I can't remember his name now. We're just talking about him, the new defense secretary. I am hoping
Pete Hegseth,
that President Trump will, yes, I'm hoping that Pete will get pushed through. I'm hoping that President Trump will back him to the hilt and will surround him with whatever he needs to get him through there. But the problem is, John, I was hoping the same thing for Gates. I was so hopeful about Gates, and he's the first one sunk.
All right, so there is a bit of a difference between Hegseth and Gates. I know Matt Gaetz. We're not on speed dial, but I was on the podium with President Trump in Commerce, Georgia, a couple of years ago, along with Matt Gaetz. We have had several encounters since then, and I have watched him intently in congressional hearings in the Judiciary Committee that he serves on in Congress. He is a fighter. He is a warrior. He has got courage, and the deep state unquestionably pulled the rug out from underneath him. But I've got to be truthful with you. I think that he asked for it to a degree. He was seen at parties, presumably taking drugs, presumably having sex with multiple women. Those are not anonymous sources. Those are real witnesses who've come forward. And it's not new news. It's old news. I'm just amazed that Gates didn't know that was going to come back to haunt him. I'm a little bit surprised that Trump didn't know it, or if he did know it, allowed the nomination to go forward. There is a role for Matt Gaetz in this government, and I am hopeful that he will find a role. Maybe it's in DOJ, maybe it's in, which doesn't require any Senate confirmation or any congressional approval. It is an extra governmental agency. It's not an agency of government. It is a private enterprise designed to study government and to report back, and hopefully the findings will be acted upon. Of course, the executive branch is going to listen intently to everything that DOJ comes up with, and it will be the basis for legislation that comes forward to reform the bureaucracy, to get rid of the Department of Education. I hope. They say that they are. But why do we take money from the states so we can turn around and send it back to them? That makes no sense whatsoever. That is not supposed to be the role of the federal government, according to the founding fathers.